Hey y'all, this week we're going to dive into Chapter 3, The Letters from No One. The first sentence in our chapter is, "The escape of the Brazilian boa constrictor earned Harry his longest ever punishment." So in this chapter, we learn that Harry is obviously being punished more than usual. So we have that issue going on. At the beginning of the chapter, Aunt Petunia calls Dudley Ickle Dudleykins, and just as a side anecdote, that somehow became a nickname for my daughter's cat, whose name is Silas, and somehow we just started calling him Ickle Dudleykins, and then that kind of morphed into Ickles Pickles, I guess because it rhymed, and then sometimes we just call him Pickles now, even though his name is Silas. So he answers to Silas and Pickles and Ickles Pickles. At one point, my daughter got into this thing of where she would call him Ickles of Lay Pickles, which was interesting, but that's just a side anecdote. Anyway, back to the story. So, at the beginning of the chapter, Uncle Vernon tells Harry to go get the mail when they hear the mail arrive at their house, which I find weird because I don't think Uncle Vernon would ever tell Dudley to go get the mail. I think he would just always tell Harry to go get it, but it does make for a funny interaction where he tells Dudley to go get it. Dudley says, "Make Harry go." So he tells Harry to go get it, and then Harry says, "Make Dudley get it," and then Uncle Vernon tells Dudley to hit Harry with his smelting stick. Which, by the way, especially if any of you are from Britain, do boarding schools over there actually give kids weapons as part of their uniform? I find it really strange that they would just give these kids a stick to beat each other with. So, my cat has decided to join us. Anyway, say hello. So anyway, as we progress through the chapter, we get letters addressed to Harry in very specific places. So it starts out with him being under the stairs, and it's one thing that, it's another thing that makes me angry, because obviously they know that Harry is being abused. They know where his room is, that it's just a cupboard under the stairs and isn't an actual room. So that's always frustrating. So something that I would like to point out is that I think this is another situation where it kind of highlights the fact that I feel like Dumbledore just lets Harry stay in this abusive home. A lot of people say that the letters are probably addressed by magic, and that they're probably addressed by magic, and so maybe Dumbledore might not be aware. It's just the magical system that automatically knows where he is. It's just a weird thing, and I feel like it just shows that he knows where Harry is and that he's being abused and just lets it happen. So Vernon increasingly loses his mind. Even poor Aunt Petunia is trying to tell him, "I don't think that's going to work," when he's nailing up the mail slot, and he gets excited about it being Sunday because there's no post on Sundays, which is a classic line. And he just devolves into just paranoia and anger and fear, and I kind of feel bad for him. I mean, he's obviously paranoid, but he knows that what he's afraid of is real, and he just doesn't want to deal with it. So he drags the family all across the place, I don't know, all across the country, trying to find a place where they can't be found. The letters keep finding them, but Vernon is very determined. He wants to protect his family, but he has completely lost control. He finds this shack that is across a body of water, so they have to take a boat to get there, and he's really excited about the shack. He doesn't think a witch or wizard can find them. I did read somewhere where it might have to do with, like, witches wouldn't cross a body of water, but I can't find where I read it, and it's been so many years. But that used to be an old superstition. So I kind of think about that, and I think it is kind of interesting if that is true. All in all, this chapter is just, it's a bit frustrating. Not a lot happens in this chapter. We see Dudley is obviously still very spoiled, trying to take all of these different things with him as he's packing. And it's a bit different than in Chapter 2. I know we talked about him being extremely spoiled in Chapter 2, but that was for his birthday. And a lot of people do treat birthdays as special. So it is different in this chapter where we're seeing it on just a daily basis of how spoiled he really is. So we end this chapter with poor Harry counting down to his 11th birthday, which is just incredibly sad and depressing, kind of singing himself happy birthday, and we hear just a loud noise at the end of the chapter. So this chapter is more of a filler chapter. Not a whole lot happens. We just learn a little bit more about the Dursleys' family dynamic, I suppose, and especially how Vernon handles stress, which is not well. He doesn't handle stress well at all. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the Dursleys being abusive toward Harry. I know I've seen a lot of threads in just different places where they attribute the Dursleys being abusive to Harry because of Harry having the additional soul or the piece of Voldemort's soul in Harry. And I think it's a valid theory. I think there is some truth to that, because we also know, I mean, that's what happened to Ron in book 6 or 7, goodness. That's what happens in book 7 to Ron when he's having to deal with the locket. You know, he says that they were things that he was already thinking, but it just made them worse. So obviously the Dursleys can't be good people already. It's just, it brings that out in them. And I can understand their frustration of, they like normal things. They wanted to live a normal life. That's what they wanted. They wanted the stereotypical normal life. Mommy and daddy with brand new baby, stay-at-home mom, great job for the dad, and their lovely bouncing baby boy. And then suddenly they're thrust a new kid that they didn't wanted nothing to do with, and they're basically forced to take care of him. So I'm sure that brought on a lot of bitterness to them with having to deal with Harry when they didn't want to. It's just, those are reasons for abusive behavior. Those are not excuses. I am a firm believer in people have reasons for doing things, but they're not excuses. Reasons and excuses are two different things. Just like with Dumbledore, I know that he has a reason for leaving Harry there. His reason is the protective charm that Harry's mother left on him, and, you know, the whole Fidelius thing of having to come home, all that stuff that you know. But that's his reason, not his excuse, and I don't believe there's ever an excuse to leave a child in an abusive home. I'm going to harp on this probably throughout the series, just whenever different points come up. So I want to kind of talk about that as we go further into the series. I know a lot of people still love Dumbledore, and at times I still love Dumbledore, but I want to kind of discuss how people feel about this aspect of Dumbledore's character. Is it something that can be forgiven? Is it excusable? Is it something that, you know, one of the for the greater good kind of things? And I just don't know how I feel. I don't know if it's because I get angry when I think about it, but I want to hear what other people have to say too, or what other people think. So feel free to jump in the Discord channel. I'm going to make sure to have that link down below. We'll go ahead and wrap up this chapter with the last sentence, which is, someone was outside knocking to come in. Y'all take care.